All right, this is headlines for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 contacts. I think I'll just do them continuously, and we'll break them up into, keep them as one, and then also break them up and put them in individual files. I've already dictated something on Dave Donaldson, but here's kind of an update. Overall, we need to focus on Dave's adaptation from his developmental period. He's very much a pleaser and kind of can have an ingratiating style toward authority, overly agreeable and less decisive than he needs to be. Dave's a smart individual, has a strong appreciation for the area that he runs, he has good insights, yet he's indecisive and he looks outside of himself for permission. Kind of a classic second in command with an ingratiating nature that needs to be suppressed. What we'd like to see be a more confident, self-possessed individual that can be both thoughtful, decisive, and not be a guy always looking for permission. All right, that's enough for Dave. At 8 to 9, I met with Maria and Elisa. They seem to have an agenda to want to have an excited conversation around all the cool stuff we're going to do with HR, which I really had trouble participating in because I just couldn't get excited about it. We talked a little bit about the 360 and what they wanted to accomplish there. I think Maria is weird as shit. I think she's going to likely over-treat the patient with HR activity. This is a pretty small organization, only about 750 people altogether, most of whom are distributed, except for the 300 or so that work in the mills. They really don't need a lot of programmatic activity, but I believe they're going to get a lot. Scheduled to give feedback to Maria next trip up. We're going to just write Elisa out of the story. We did make a decision to cancel. I made the recommendation to cancel September, which was great. We'll re-meet in October and start the 360 process, which we'll need to get Gordon and Courtney to manage that. And ideally, we'll get Courtney involved with Westervelt as opposed to me. Maybe let me coach. Maybe Cade, Tony, and anyway, we'll see how that plays out. On to the next, Cade Warner. As always, it's a good conversation with Cade. I think he was, happy with the outcome or the impact of our conversation. We talked a little bit about the board. We talked about board renewal and some of that. Also talked about his need for detail and versus his perspectives. And one suggestion I made to him is to show more perspective but show less detail. He doesn't have to give up the detail, but it can be distracting for subordinates. Probably need to talk more about his expectations of his subordinates. If you look at Mark and Dave, neither one are promotable, although they're pretty solid performers in their current roles. Ray, potentially could be promotable, but he's internal counsel. He's not an operator. So we need to ensure that the staffs under the key operators, which are Mark, Dave, and Travis, are being developed. I think that's some key work that needs to be done there. Talked about the kind of the bold, brutal, kind motif, if that's the right word, with Cade. And he's a real positive guy. He's a pretty regular guy, too. I need to kind of lean in on him a little bit more. The end. Let's go to Mark. Mark is a really solid guy. He's really slow to warm up and initially quite distrustful. He's like a scared cat or a dog that's been beat up, but it's kind of dying to be patted. that's slow to warm up and slow to trust. That initial greeting face really needs to become more natural and a more lean forward kind of guy. Mark admitted that he was irritated with Dave's kind of pandering and suck up style. And on one hand, he probably wishes he could do a little bit more of that. But he does trust the motives of people who are with that kind of style. Mark, actually trusts pretty deeply as soon as he gets over that initial hump. I thought he was going to be very difficult to work with, but as soon as he got past that initial super weirdness, he just decided to be all in and has been ever since. So it's real positive elements in this guy. At the same time, he also needs to own it, continue to step up, make sure he's decisive. Moving on to Tony, what a gift he is to this organization. On his game, solid, centered, smart, financially competent and broad. He's the obvious second in command. They already are aligning to his leadership. He hadn't been there very long. Makes a lot of sense that soon he should be COO and the designated unplanned successor if something should happen to Cade. Just really nothing obvious here for developmental recommendations on Tony. It's stay the course, be a guide and mentor to the other guys, and continue to add value. He is looking forward to some positives that Maria may bring. He does not agree with me that she may bring too much. He's hoping to see something more positive, noting that Elisa's linearity and financial background probably wasn't bringing enough solid HR support. Ray's a fun guy to talk to. Roll Tide, Alabama dude. We, unfortunately, it was late in the day. My brain wasn't working too well. We mostly talked politics and football. I think Ray is solid in his role. He's a good contributor. He irritates Dave because he asks hard questions and maybe doesn't have the depth that he thinks he should or does in some of these areas. Except at the same time, can't handle the interrogatives, then you need to maybe work on that. Anyway, I think Ray's a real asset and should continue. And his girls are good. They're graduating high school, getting ready to go to college. The end.